anarchists said, if you want to change the world, get hold of a printing machine. And then you could print yourself. You don't have to pay the publishers or the printers. We said, no, we don't want a printing machine. We found we'd got a theatre. I discovered the Hackney Empire by accident, actually. Earlier than we took it over, I was walking past and I thought, who's this place? Oh my God, look at that big old stuff and all the terracotta falling off the roof and all churned up and flowers growing out the top of the place. I thought, oh, it's an old music hall. Years later, we were looking for a venue for our comedy world, and we sent this guy, Tom Jones, his name was. He came in and he said, I've got a place. Mecca want you to have it. It's the Hackney Empire. No, you must be joking. No one would want us to have the Hackney Empire. Yeah, you can have it if you put the domes back on the roof. You're kidding. So I better go and have a look. So I came down there. No, mate, you can't get in. No. Got a ticket to come in? Are you a bingo member? No, nobody. So I had to sort of fill out all these names, this lot. So we all joined the Mecca Bingo club, and then we turned up on Mecca Bingo night and walked around tapping it, looking at it going, is it real? Where's the stage?
My name is Yamin Choudury. I'm the Artistic Director and Joint Chief Executive here at the Hackney Empire. The very fact that Hackney Empire has been open for 120 years is a testament to how important it's been to our local community and a wider community. The literal theatrical empire that the Stoll Moss Group created with Frank Matcham in the late 1800s and early 1900s has all but evaporated from the face of modern UK arts and culture. And it's only right that we take an opportunity to really celebrate the incredible people that have enabled Hackney Empire to not only survive, but thrive. This organisation, this building, has been for a huge amount. Roland and Claire Muldoon, who took this place over from Mecca Bingo and transformed it back into a theatre with their incredible team, are responsible for the ethics and the morals and the principles that inform our practice to this day. If it weren't for that group of misfits who came and worked absolute magic, none of us would be here today. It felt really, really important to take a moment to celebrate the fact that this organisation based in this building is still here, and to recognise the amazing people that have made that a possibility.
The Hackney Empire, designed by Frank Matcham, architect of the London Coliseum. It opened on December the 9th, 1901, and closed, like many other variety theatres in the late 50s, to become a bingo hall. On December the 9th, 1986, it opened its doors again as a theatre and a new centre for variety.
A lot of new people were moving into Hackney. Younger people, flats, squats, a lot of squats.
A lot of artists will move there as well because they're cheap theatre.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of artists. And that always then the rich follow, don't they, after the artists have sorted it out.
Yeah. And then
The rich
Hackney was like, became desirable. There are 32 languages spoken in Hackney. We'll have all one of those audiences. Because we weren't thinking like bourgeois theatre thinks. We were thinking, get people in. What do you do to get them in, you know? But we knew that we had the responsibility of reflecting the classes and the people that lived in the borough. And it's no big deal for us to come from what we'd come from as political theatre and touring underground. It wasn't like a big jump of consciousness. It was the obvious thing to do, a community theatre aimed at the community.
I'm Claire Muldoon.
I'm Brian Wren.
Roland Muldoon.
My name's Hoffman Reed.
We had a circuit of comedy places around London, about 7, I think. We used to run every week. And so I was at the diorama being an agent for a lot of the new acts. And then we started doing comedy here when we opened, and I came over about a year later, did I?
It all started, funnily enough, with me getting bumped for my wages on a building site back in 1987. No, I was running about with these guys on the circuit, part-time sort of thing. And then the first show, I think, was Panto that year. So I was working on a building site leading up to that. And about 3 weeks before Christmas, the contractor ran off with all the money. So I was potless. And Tony came round to see me and said, Tony Gully, who used to be stage manager here at the time, he came and said, well, you can pull ropes, can't you?
I was just the only person who knew the right end of a screwdriver for a start. No, and I took over the sound quite quickly because I was, being a musician, I'd done a lot of studio work. So I did know about sound, not a lot. I knew more than he did. But yeah, that was it. So I became the sort of sound man, stage manager, production manager, technical manager, toilet cleaner, and I had to act.
You're a good actor.
It was all right. So it was all right. It came naturally, and even though I say it myself, and but that's it. And I've hooked ever since. Just did all the touring, did the shows with Roland and Claire, and then took this place over. Walked in the place, fell in love. Still love it now.
The refurb was obviously an amazing moment, like a real high point in the recent history, but how necessary was the refurb?
Well, technically, the place needed it. It was everything.
Absolutely crappy.
The
wiring was
everything
50 years old or more, and it crumbled in your hand. If you went to a light fitting and pulled the wire out the bottom, it just crumbled away in your hands, live wire.
And the rain came through the roof. This is where I first realised the Hackney Empire. Here.
This is one of the best
I
views
got
in the
through
building.
the door here, and I looked here, and it was like a wonderland to behold. I couldn't believe it. People sitting around, higgledy-piggledy.
That was falling down. Yes, and I came up here just before we opened the doors on the opening night, and I stuck it back up with a bit of rounded gaffer tape, 3 bits, bop, 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 and it stayed there until 2000 when we closed. The night we closed, honestly, this is really true, you don't believe in ghosts, but literally the night we closed, the next morning it fell down.
Reopening as a theatre after being a bingo hall for 10 years. New owners say that they're determined that the Empire will be restored to its former glory.
Well, hi there everybody, and welcome to the Hackney Empire.
It's just wonderful looking out and seeing this huge theatre.
What's going on? They're all white. When's going to be the Hackney Empire? I'm sorry, I'm a bit... Because do you ever get this? I'm serious. I come to my house tonight, and what do you think? Left? Right? Left? Happy Mondays?
Cause I'm a woman at excuse me, this is my song.
By the way, I live locally, I always have lived locally. You know, wherever I live, I always make damn sure it's local. There's no point in living 10 miles from your house. You'd never go back at night, would you?
I've been doing this 60 years and I still haven't found an easier way of earning a living. Had 3 husbands, 2 daughters and 7 grandchildren. I'm looking for the 4th husband. Anybody going?
This is my pet dog, Chou. And I brought him along because I wanted to meet all you nice people here at the Hackney Empire. And, sorry, you want to tell a quick joke? Okay, Chew's going to tell a quick joke, ladies and gents.
We also, I better mention now, in case any of you have got to go home and catch a bus, that we'll be collecting on the way outside because we've yet to buy this building from Mecca. We used to run it as a bingo hall up to a year and a half ago. We have to raise £150,000 by May, and then it's ours, the People's Palace in our hands. And I think you'll like that, because I believe it's worth it, and I think you're enjoying the new variety acts.
Beginning my journey here as a reprobate amongst the other reprobates that worked at Hackney Empire at the time, Hoff, Brian Wren, meeting Roland and Claire, the whole crew, and having the guiding hand of Susie and Sharon at the very beginning of my career. And it wasn't even a career, it was training, it was education, it was re-socialization, which is what Hackney Empire does so amazingly. It was a long process of coming here and experiencing what theatre can be and seeing all of its infinite potential. And then going away and realizing that this space and what it does for people doesn't exist. It's not a common thing. If you come to Hackney Empire and experience theatre and experience arts here, you're experiencing a singular version of that. And then you go away, and if it's the first time you've had that experience, you might expect it to be commonplace. And I think my whole career has been based on trying to create that experience everywhere I go and in all of the work that I help to create.
When it first happened, I mean, the fact that they had this theatre and that they were going to be in charge and everyone we knew was working here, and it was exciting.
So my introduction to theatre was places like here, Black Mime Theatre, Thaywarden, Hackney Empire. So I have this different view of what theatre is. I don't see theatre as elitist and something that is unobtainable. I see it as that it's available for everybody.
It was a People's Palace, it was for everybody, and it was a variety theatre, and it has that whole East London history behind it.
I mean, it was reflective of the people who lived here. That I didn't realise that sense of warmth that you get with people who live locally. I mean, and not just in Hackney, I mean, locally, probably 30 minutes away, who believed in the place, who it was their home, so they looked after it.
There was that kind of cultural diversity that gave people they felt comfortable enough to be themselves culturally, whereas a lot of theatres you go to, you feel like you're not in the right place, it's not your space.
Yeah. My memory of it all was that it really was all things to all people. Do you know what I mean? Kurdish language comedy, do you know what I mean? Or, there was more town hall activity in here than there was in the town hall. There was more meetings, the kind of knowledge that was shared was here.
I mean, this space is, I don't think there's a theatre like it in London. And I've been to quite a few.
It's beautiful.
I mean, it's not only that, it's got a sort of an atmosphere. It's got a warmth to it. Wherever you are in this space, you feel you've got a great connection with the stage, and performers loved it. I mean, everybody who came in here, whether they were on the stage or whether they were in the audience, absolutely loved it.
I love this place. I love it more than I should as an artistic director. Theatre at its best is incredibly magical, and it's one of the things that I love most about it. Live performance is completely singular in the experience that you have as an audience, and in theatre, it's compounded by these kinds of spaces that you walk into, and that's why I think a lot of the time when we reflect on Hackney Empire, we are talking about the architecture, and we are talking about how it looks and how it feels and what the seats are like, because you walk into an auditorium in any theatre across the country or across the world, and you enter a cloud of emotion and energy. We're privileged enough as the people who operate this space to stand at the back of the stalls or the back of the dress circle and watch the cloud kind of swell and expand and move about as it's filled with laughter or tears or despair or mourning or celebration. And that experience that you have that theatre can create when it's at its best is unbelievable. And it's even more unbelievable at Hackney Empire. And I don't know what it is about the place. I don't know what kind of stardust they sprinkled in the concrete and mortar between the bricks. It has been here to provide shelter, to provide warmth, to provide togetherness for thousands of people for over 100 years. That's how I would describe Hackney Empire. And I'm sure it's a word that's overused, but as home.
Nobody who comes into the venue to see shows and experience seeing shows here who doesn't say there is something special about seeing the show at Hackney Empire. Much like the performers on the stage, there's something special about doing a show at the Hackney Empire.
All of a sudden, we had Angela Davis over from America. We had the head of the ANC coming. We had Tony Benn. We had all of the had to be at the Hackney Empire.
Stop by the Hackney Empire. We did stuff outside. We had big markets, and we did. I found what's his name, Alan Davis, he auditioned on the steps of the town hall that night for us. He was an audition.
Billy Bragg came and played on the steps.
Yep, he used to do every Christmas.
Barbara Windsor, every time I don't know how many times I worked with Barbara in here.
Yeah.
But every time that woman came here, she would sit down, she would come early, sit down in the dress circle by herself, taking it in the building, and you'd pop over and you say, "You all right, Barbara, how you doing?" "Oh, darling, I just like to sit here because, you know, I first came here when I was 5.
Yeah.
And my nan used to bring me, or my aunt used to bring me, and she'd give you the whole story, and it's like, you know, seriously, people. I remember one time I was doing a show, I forget what the show was, we had Madge Roly-Polies in the show. And she's turned up at stage door with her gubbins, drops them literally on the floor, runs in here, so to speak. That was cool, bless her. She ran in here seriously and burst into tears. And told me about that. "Oh, I haven't been here since the last time I was here. I was in Panto with my mum."
Griff Rhys-Jones came in here, and me and Simon Thompson went to see him at Richmond, where he was on. We got him to come down here, and he walked in here, and the 291 show was on, and there was a huge, packed black audience, young people shouting out, and he came out, there's so much talent in there. We've got to save the place.
We had the Almeida putting on Hamlet with
I missed that.
Ralph Fiennes. And I was in the box office, and you had people phoning you up. It was the only way to do it, one of those swipey things to take their credit card details, and people go, hello. Could you tell me where Hackney is?
Yeah.
Well, I've never heard of Hackney.
Ralph Fiennes, amazing Shakespeare ever. When we had the opening night, and the Almeida had him on, and they told him it's only a 600-seat one, because they didn't want to tell him he had to go into the upper as well, you know. And when he came out, he started to project that far, you know, without a microphone and all that. And as I sat there on the opening night, and all the names and knobs were here, this clang, 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 clang. It was the cowling in the roof. Clang, clang. And oh dear, all the way through is Shakespeare, and he, you know, doing it, brilliantly delivering it, and they're all wonderful people, and we'd had the biggest PR ever that it was going to happen. In the interval, I went right up to the roof to try to stop the clanging. And guess
You
who I
sent
met
me
up
out there. You sent me up there. See,
I was up there.
I've got to claim
He went up
this,
there
I'm sorry.
first. He went
Oh,
up
yeah,
there.
you all have gone up there
And
first.
Ray Fiennes
Then
was
he
up
couldn't
there
do it.
as well. He came in the interval to looking for the clang.
I was hanging up there over the auditorium on a glass dome, trying to fix the bloody thing up, and he's, where are you, brother? Where are you, mate?
With all of those different shows, whatever show that used to come in here, for that evening, for the duration of, the building was yours. And they would feel that they had complete control here and complete control of that. And, you know, it really, they took on the building as their own. And I think we approached it with very much an attitude of, that's absolutely fine. To this day, any of those promoters who performed, even down to the acts, actually, the same thing. It's like they come in and say, "Oh, I'm back home."
Slava Paluni was the best
Slava's
show
first
ever.
show here.
When we first started, he was brought into the Carlsberg Comedy Festival. So the thing was that everyone got into the Carlsberg, including the audience and everybody else. And Slava came along, it was really good. So we never got that festival back again. And it wasn't till sort of 15 years later, I was in Edinburgh, and I saw them, and they were starving on top of that hill in the top of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And I said, come down. And they did, and the rest is history, because they loved it here, didn't they?
There was so much the philosophy of how we used to work as well. Because it was like everything was handmade.
Uncle Vanya.
Everything was like sort of, it is literally his family, his entire extended family run the show. His wife, kids. Around the back, they'd like make bolts. They'd have like little things to make springs and stuff like. You wouldn't buy nothing. It was literally everything was handmade. The whole show was handmade, and to this day is probably one of the best pieces of theatre I've seen. Seriously.
Between us, we set up a little club that if you didn't touch the manuscript book, so you had to climb up the scaffolding and go to there, that you weren't in the club. And I just thought it was a piece of stupidity. And yet, so many people I caught climbing up there and touching the manuscript book, which is up there. And then they asked us they asked you, because I had to ask you, I remember it distinctly, they said for me to ask you what we should put on the manuscript book, and none of us could decide. And then we just forgot about it. And then I came in, or Hoffman or somebody came in one day and found one of the architect's assistants starting to put some music up there. And I said, what's that then? And it was... he was going to put Little Bo Peep up because it was his famous, his child's favourite nursery rhyme. And so I stopped him and I said, we can't have that. And then you or Claire, or I think it was you or Claire, said, no, let's put Mari Lloyd's The Boy I Love up in the gallery. So that's how we decided. And that's what that is. It's the first lines of Mari Lloyd, who was a very well-known variety star who performed here lots and lots and lived locally.
When we took it over and then we were ticking along, we didn't know where the money was coming from to do the domes up. I had to mortgage this place, which we'd bought for £11,000 in an auction. And then we looked at this hall and we thought, oh, we could rehearse here. We could even have a theatre group rehearse here and leave to play the rest of the country and wouldn't have to go through the London traffic. You know, this was how we saw it. Eventually, as you can see, we came to live here. But this was our life-saving, Claire and I. In the bohemian kind of left-wing life that we led, we had no money. We didn't expect to ever have money, really, you know. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but to us it was an amazing amount of money that we'd got together, and then it came up that it could save our project, the Hackney Empire. And the bank was convinced, because they lent us the money to survive, and then eventually the council did move the money across, and we bought it.
So you did two shots, the same shot?
This is Tim. This is the one of the...
What's the name? Look.
So this is 2003. Hold on. This is 1986.
That's the lights. Look, different lights.
Oh yeah.
They're not. It's the different one. So that's a good one.
This is the reopening in 2000 and the opening gala. And
Hold it up
this
here.
was my first experience
Where
of
are
Hackney
you?
Empire.
Oh,
Where are you?
there?
This was
You're in the
you lot
picture.
got me a suit for this night.
Well, where are you?
Yeah.
You mean you bought a
didn't invite me
suit?
to- No, you got me a suit because I didn't have a suit, and
You were working on it.
yeah,
Oh
Why
God.
would we buy anyone a
Where would
suit?
you end up buying
you
a
got
suit?
me a suit because
Never heard of such
Well,
a
where
thing.
are you then?
Grit. I wasn't in the photo. You lot didn't know me. I was just a runaround. And you asked me if I had a suit, and I said no.
Oh,
And you lot got me a suit.
no,
I hope
don't
you.
believe it.
Yeah.
We've never been that nice.
Please.
That's what Hackney Empire had done for us. It pushed us in so many different directions that it kind of became to a thing of, I'm actually not scared to jump into this point now. We can actually do it because, we got that backbone, we got the support of Yamin, of everyone in Hackney Empire, realistically. And it's like, I can do this. Even if I fail, I done it.
That was definitely the stage when I came for Panto, because to be fair, I was never going to be a tech. I never really looked at technical. I just came by and then just fell in love with it. And then, for example, seeing people like Hoff manage stage, to be like a senior technical manager now, I see his pain when he goes. I see his pain when you have a client that comes in with, I don't know, 70 pieces of steel deck and they're trying to say, yeah, let's build this by today and take it down. I'm like, okay. But do you know what I mean? You get that drive that you just have to do it. You get the job done. And seeing, obviously, Hoff go through days and nights, probably no sleep, to be fair, but him putting shows back to back and make it happen definitely pushed me to be a harder tech and be like, I love technical. I can look at technical and say, yeah, that's my life. Like, I do everything I can do and I give them that 100% as Hoff would. You know what I mean? I take Hoff's pride and his work rate, and I make it like mine.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
that's so
sweet. They've done so much for me community-wise. I've always felt at home here. Like nowhere else, I don't think I've felt like how I do here. And especially with you lot, we've become a family.
100%.
I know that I can always call on anyone here, in the building, out the building, no matter what time it is. Even if you don't pick up, you'll get back to me. And I know that I've got that support from like everyone here, everyone from the office down, every single person, basement, office, everyone. Just helps me out, and I love that.
Big family.
Big family, huge family actually.
Like, no matter what,
huge
it's always
family.
love, and I love that.
That's what I'm saying.
Young.
Even seeing it from front of house to tech, I've seen you have that love for each other.
Because we know they would never judge us. We
yeah.
know, like, regardless, they are our...
And I've done some things that couldn't be judged. I've done some things in this place.
They will cuss you, but it's not a cuss judgment.
Right, exactly. It's more like you need to do better, but like, you know.
And there's a real love for young people, there's a real love for the community, like, and I think that's something that's always stayed with me. Like, in all of my work, I'm like, but I need to have young people involved. I need to have young people. Like, everything has to be for young people in the community, always. And I think Hackney Empire has definitely been like the driving force for that. Like, Hackney Empire is like, no, this is what we do. This young people community work is our foundation, and then everything comes afterwards.
It was the only theatre for me, personally, that was doing anything in terms of black culture. This is the first theatre I'd ever worked in and ever seen a show in. You know, in a time when, you know, everything has to be tagged with its diversity label, it's always puzzled me as, what, eh? What do you mean? This is the definition of diversity. We do the lot.
The possibilities of the journeys that you can have at Hackney Empire, regardless of who you are and where you come from and what access you've had previously, none of that matters when you come here. There's no judgment, there's no scrutiny. One of my favourite things about Hackney Empire is that a lot of the audiences don't dress up. And that might be a tiny thing to some people, but for me it's incredibly meaningful because it means that they really feel like Hackney Empire isn't just for special occasions. It's where you come to experience things. And you don't dress up to watch the 6 o'clock news. Our job now, for myself and for the people who come to take over the Empire in the future, and the baton that has been passed on to us from Roland and Claire and that team that reopened the place in the mid-80s, is really about making sure that that access, that fundamental level of access is protected for everybody for as long as possible.
The highlight for me is that it's still operating as theatre. We see a continuation of what we started, which is nice to see.
It was something for everybody, but beautiful as well, with a massive history.
Oh, yeah, I suppose it's a place of belonging for people who didn't feel they belonged anywhere.
This theatre, or this organisation that has this theatre, it has an obligation to be a voice for the people who are marginalised and who suffer inequalities and their voices are hidden. The Hackney Empire now is here because of those people. It's here because those people came to it in 1988, 1989 and all of the times and all of those years.
It gives people with a different opinion and voice the opportunity to come in off Mare Street and literally in the space of like 20 yards and be in this room.
I mean, it is the nicest thing. You go in other theatres, you go, nah, nothing's as good as this place. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love it, you know, it's so brilliant.
And we made it better.
We made it a lot better.
The moment you walked in here, you could not fall in love with it. It was just...
What?
I've never left since.
Since.
It just gets you.
Whatever was happening outside of Hackney Empire has never penetrated its walls or affected its ability to deliver amazing, inspirational, exciting stories to 1,500 people sat right behind me in this incredible room. And it's quite magical when you think about it like that.
I mean, I've just been a part of it for all those years. We just loved it, didn't we? We were proud to have it. And we knew what we were doing was right, because we'd done 10 years touring at theatre company, 10 years doing the outside of this. So we were well equipped to to know what was funny, what was good on stage, what was everything.
You know, we live out in the countryside now, and we every now and again pinch ourselves to say, hey, that's what we were doing, you know, for those years, you know.
It's just, like to say, an oasis. I landed on this desert island, and this was the Hackney Empire. I thought, I'll have some of this.
When you've got people who've been in the business for God knows how many years, played just about every venue in the country, from working men's clubs to the Palladium, and yet they come here and immediately are in raptures over, I can now rest easy because I've done the Hackney Empire.
It's been a dream, and it's so often a dream that's unexplorable in other organisations. But here at Hackney Empire, we've managed to keep this dream alive for 120 years. And that is incredibly special.